Hi, this is Mr. Bissonette with episode 5 as we dive into cognitive studies. We got a fun one today, kind of start off with a controversial one, but so be it. We're going to start off with having a little discussion about Common Core, and then after we get past Common Core, then we will talk about what system I use for memorizing decks of cards, and we will be using the Memory Palace again to help us with that. So Common Core, this is one of those ones as a math teacher, I hear a lot of parents and a lot of students have some frustrations with it, in all honesty. And like a lot of things, I think it was created the correct way and then along the way implemented the wrong way. So my belief is the idea behind Common Core was that we would show students multiple different ways of thinking about math problems and then allow them to pick the way that works best for them and encourage them to carry that on through their studies. Now we'll run a little bit of math for you, and I think the understanding or the frustration of why so many people have gotten to the point where they will just flat out say they hate Common Core math. I think we'll be able to show you a little bit of math of why that is. So if we were to take 4 different methods of solving a particular problem, maybe something simple as addition. Now we're going to present you 4 different ways to think about the same problem. And the idea is that in showing you the 4 different ways, hopefully your brain connects with the information one way better than the others. Now the problem with that is if one way we connect better with, then while we are going over the other 3 methods, 75% of the time, we are going to not connect with it, or we won't understand it as well. Now, we see this when we take the problems home and our parents are helping us. They say, why don't they just teach us the old way? Well, they teach the old way, maybe in one of these methods, but then they also show you 3 other ways, so the parents now are confused 75% of the time, or they are not connecting with the learning as well. So there is some things that Common Core does really well. It does a great job of putting visuals and other ideas to sometimes kind of more theoretical maths. But through the implementation as teachers, we have to be a little bit more flexible with it. And when we show the different methods, we can't necessarily expect the kids to become proficient with all of them. That being said, sometimes the different methods will lead to a deeper understanding. But as far as the grades go, we have to be really conscious on how we approach that with students. So there is a little bit of the Common Core. Now on to memorizing decks of cards. Now the way that I do this is a lot like our memorization of long sequences of numbers. We're going to use the Memory Palace. We're also going to be using a coding system for each of our cards. And again, much like memorizing the numbers, there's a little bit of front load. There's work that is required at the beginning, but once we get it, then we're able to use it and apply it to other situations. This is one, again, going back to Moonwalking with Einstein, Josh 4. This is the first book that I read that kind of really showed this, and again, I thought it was just amazing how it works and how our brains are able to remember that information a lot better than just a boring set of cards. We put that coding system into it so that we can create pictures. Again, we take those pictures, we store it into our Memory Palace, and then our brains are able to better retrieve that information. So I will show you a little bit of my card system that I use, some of the things that I do, how it connects, and kind of get you going. So the more things that we can connect to each of the different cards, the more likely our brains are to remember it. Now, through that, I have a couple things that separates the two of them. First thing, my red cards, those are all gals, okay? So as soon as I see a gal in one of my images that I create, I know it's going to be a red card. And then my black cards are going to be guys. Now, in my aces, those are really, really important people to me. So as you can see, Ace of Hearts is my grandma. And then jacks are aunts and uncles. Kings are like father-like figures, so not necessarily fathers, but individuals that raised me like fathers. And then my queens are bosses or leaders that I have had throughout my life. And even down to some of the numbers. An 8 to me looks like a strong person, so I try to pick strong people, whether it's strong-willed, whether it's physically strong. It kind of helps me sort through it. 2s, I think of it kind of like a taller number because it's tall and skinny. But again, the more things that you can connect to it, the more likely your brain will be able to retrieve the information and faster. All right, each of our cards is going to have a name, an action, and then something, okay? So for example, my 2 of diamonds is Emily ties goats, a person, what they are doing, and something like that. Katie runs races, Dennis rides mules, Rocky builds tanks, Heidi counts cards, Grandma loves red. Now, these people are all people that I'm very familiar with, okay? And it's a little bit of a challenge. You have to come up with 52 people. And the other thing that I kind of noticed is I had to be really careful with my action because I have a lot of people that are really involved in rodeo and riding horses. So I had to find something else that was kind of unique to them that I would be able to remember. Now, the way that the system works is, as I look at a group of 3 cards, the group would then become Emily runs mules. So for this memory palace, I use my parents' house, and as I walk up to the front door, I visualize a picture of my friend Emily, and she is running, or maybe she's sitting on a mule that is running. She runs mules. Maybe she's, she's on top of the mule and it's running, okay? Now, as I open up the door and I go into the next room, the next image is going to be Rocky counts red. A little bit tricky, but I think of my buddy Rocky, and maybe he is going to be counting all of my grandma's red coats. So there is the visual image of him just going through all, if you knew my grandma's closet, she had a bunch of red coats. And I would visualize him essentially counting those red coats. Redo that with the whole entire deck. Now, the beauty of this system is it essentially cuts it down by a third of the content that we have to memorize. With being able to group it like that, we're using chunking. Each image is a different chunk of the deck of cards, and as you get your cards memorized, pretty soon, as soon as I hear counts, my brain automatically goes to Heidi counts cards. Now, initially, I also have a memory palace for these cards. And then initially, as I hear counts, I know it's something red, so I'm going through all of the sections in the house that involve the gals. and I finally run to it, and it takes a little bit of time at the start. But that's one of the cool things about our brains, is our brains like to create shortcuts. So the more times you do it, all of a sudden your brain will make a shortcut, and soon as you hear one of the words of the card, your brain will automatically go to that card. Now, the same thing happens with math. This is the reason why we want to encourage kids to, when they're learning their multiplication, count it out, count it out, count it out. And each time they put in that work, slowly but surely that brain will start making a shortcut, so to speak, to the answer. So, Common Core, it is a good thing. It puts a visualization to some pretty tough math concepts. It also shows us different ways of doing the problem. And I think that is something that we can understand is good for the learning process. We have to be careful with it. We can't expect that if a student connects better with one, that they would also connect with the other three methods. Okay? Be conscious of that. Allow for that student to have that ability to navigate through what they like the best and what works best for them. And then again, back to memorizing our cards, create a system. And in that code system, instead of just seeing something boring like a king, a jack, and an ace, our brains are then able to visualize a person that is doing something kind of weird, counting red coats, or running mules, which our brains will remember things that are weird and crazy and visual a lot better than just random information. So again, that's Mr. Bissonette with episode 5. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for following along with these. I'm having a blast making them. I hope you're enjoying them and getting something from them as well. So have a great day.